What's going on, my Jets family? I want to thank you guys for tuning in to the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. We got Michael here. Appreciate you, my brother. Tuesday edition. Yeah, man. It's a special edition episode. Unfortunately, yesterday I got held up at work. Didn't get home till really late. Didn't get home till after 7. Sucked, but it is what it is. I'm here with you guys now. I'm excited to be with you again. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you for being here on your Tuesday evening, tuning in with me, Harrison Glazer, to talk all about them Jets. So today's episode, I got a special one for you. I got a good one for you because you guys know how much I love Mr. Zach Wilson, how much I think this kid is the real deal. So before we hop in, if you guys can please subscribe, you can do so by clicking on the logo in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. That'd be very, very much appreciated. So I am a firm believer, and I know I'm not alone in this. I am a firm believer that Mr. Zach Wilson is going to break out in 2022. This man is primed to have an excellent year, to make major strides in his sophomore year. And yes, a lot of it is on him, and we're going to talk about Zach Wilson as well. But for any quarterback, especially a young quarterback, but for any quarterback to be successful, it's really about the team that's around him, the ability of the GM to surround that player with talent. And that is what we're going to be starting this episode, going on all the many, many weapons and myriad of things that Zach Wilson has that is going to allow him to be successful. So, making the statement here, Zach Wilson is going to break out in 2022, baby. And he's got everything he needs to succeed. Joe Douglas has made it that everything is there for Mr. Zach Wilson. And we're going to start with one of the most important things, arguably the most important thing. Mr. Joe Douglas agrees with me. I say it all the time. He said it, and it's what made me love him the second he came in. One of the first things he said to us Jet fans, if you guys remember, was football is won and lost in the trenches. I'm going to make this team in the trenches something to fear again, a dominant factor. And that is where we're going to start with Zach Wilson's offensive line. Because it doesn't matter how great Zach Wilson's weapons are. It doesn't matter who he's got to throw to if he's got no time to throw the ball and he's on his ass all the time. And it doesn't matter who's in the backfield if they're getting hit in the backfield and they got nowhere to create separation and make room. Granted, having a guy like Breece Hall back there, who I can't wait to talk about, can't wait to get into Breece, having a guy like that back there, who knows? Maybe a guy hitting him in the face in the backfield isn't going to make a difference. But the offensive line matters, right? Joe said it. I've said it. Football is won and lost on the trenches on both sides with that offensive and that defensive line. So let's jump in from left to right. And let's start with Mr. George Fant, who is somehow underappreciated, which is crazy considering how great he played last year. All eyes are on Mekhi Becton, who we're going to talk about. Don't you worry. We're going to talk about Mekhi Becton. And excuse me. All conversation is on him not being at OTAs, home with his kid, which should be understandable. I mean, he just had a baby, but we'll talk all about that. But excuse me. Let's start with George Fant, who really was the unsung hero of the Jets' offensive line last year. So, George Fant, without a question, was the best offensive lineman for the New York Jets in 2021. And crazily enough, it was his first season playing left tackle. Now, as we know, and I'm going to point out when I talk about Laken Tomlinson as well, scheme means a lot, especially for the line, especially in the trenches. Scheme can mean a lot. It can make or break a player, or we see a guy who struggles. Take McGovern, struggles in one system, plays well in another. It's a big thing with offensive linemen. Well, George Fant played his first year at left tackle in his first year in Robert Saleh's system. And what did he do? He freaking killed it. And he didn't just kill it. Let's talk about George Fant for a second. Over 594 pass blocking snaps. George Fant only allowed 18 pressured. That is a Jets franchise record, I must stress. A Jets franchise record among offensive linemen, and was tied for third in the entire NFL among tackles. In fact, there were only 2 tackles that were actually better than him. And those 2 tackles were Tristan Wirfs and Andrew Whitworth. And you guys have heard me say it before. If the only two offensive tackles better than you are Andrew Whitworth and Tristan Wirfs, you're doing something right. You're doing something right and then some. So again, that was George Fant's first year in this system at left tackle, and he was unbelievable. Killed it. Again, one of the best pass blocking offensive linemen in the entire NFL last year. And when it comes to that blind side, yeah, I'd like a guy that can open running holes, but it's all about pass blocking. When it comes to protecting your quarterback's blind side, pass blocking is it. Open and close case. George Fant, he's going to be at that left tackle. And like we just said, had a career year last year in his first year with Robert Saleh in this scheme. I can't see why he wouldn't be as good, if not better. That's how I honestly look at it. It was his first year playing in that new scheme. And again, one of the best left tackles in the NFL as a pass blocking left tackle. Only Tristan Wirfs and Andrew Whitworth were the only two guys better than him. So he should be as good, if not better. So I can't wait to see George Fant at left tackle. Now let's move over a spot and let's talk about Mr. Laken Tomlinson. Well, you guys know what we got in Laken Tomlinson. We got a Pro Bowler. And here's what's so important about that. Our system isn't similar to the 49ers offensive line system. It is identical to the 49ers offensive line system. Laken even said in his interview so far, the calls are the same. The reads are the same. The shifts are the same. It's almost like he just changed his jersey. That's it. That's really all that happened. Laken Tomlinson put on a different jersey, and that's it. Well, over the last 2 years in Robert Saleh's system, he was a Pro Bowler last year, and over the past 2 seasons, he's only allowed 5 sacks over 2,188 snaps. Think about that. Over 2,188 snaps, Laken only allowed 5 sacks. Now, we talked about run blocking. He has an 80.3 run blocking grade over the last 2 years. That's 10th best among all guards in the league. So the man brings it when it comes to pass blocking and run blocking. And like I stress, there's nothing different. Nothing's changing. Again, Laken said it. It is literally an identical system. So he should be, again, as good as he's been with the Niners, if not better. So you got George, who again was unbelievable last year as a pass blocking left tackle, same system. Laken in the same system. I'm going to come back to McGovern. We're going to pass him for a second, and we're going to go to right guard. Now, we all saw what AVT did last year. AVT was unbelievable. He was excellent in his rookie year. In fact, he was so fantastic, many argue that he's going, even Robert Saleh went as far to say it's not a question of if, it's a question of when AVT becomes a Pro Bowler. He said it. Brian Baldinger said it, Brian Baldinger knows a lot, but when it comes to offensive line, he knows his stuff. And they're all saying the same thing. Watching AVT last year, it's not a matter of if. It's a matter of when this man becomes a Pro Bowler. So you got a Pro Bowl left guard with a going to be Pro Bowl right guard. We talked about George. Now let's kick to the right tackle and talk about Mekhi for a second. So all this talk about Mekhi, all this crap, Mekhi this, Mekhi that, we know already. We've covered it, and you guys know I covered it on Twitter. I know, and again, I don't want to crap on any of the beat writers, but they purposely seem to like to spin a story. And that's what I've noticed, and that's why if you guys follow me on Twitter, I purposely give you the exact quote. I give you exactly what was said, exactly as it was intended to be said. I don't spin it in any way. Robert Saleh has never, and I mean this because I've watched every press conference and reported it to you guys, he has never expressed concern about Mekhi Becton being there. Never. It's never happened. He's made jokes that some of the beat writers turned into something, but it was a joke. He's like, yeah, I'd love to have him here. But he knew, he even said today, and I'm going to bring the exact quote up because it's important. So if you guys give me 1 sec, I'm going to bring this exact quote up from Robert Saleh today because they love to ask about Mekhi Becton, and they asked about Mekhi Becton again. So this is what Robert Saleh had to say. Robert Saleh said Mekhi Becton and his wife just had their baby, so he's obviously attending to that, which is far more important than OTAs. That's the quote you need to take. Everything else that everybody else wants to do is smoke and bullshit. It's smoke and bullshit, and they're making a story out of nothing. This is what Robert Saleh said. Robert Saleh said, Mekhi Becton and his wife just had their baby, so he's obviously attending to that, which is far more important than OTAs. It's OTAs. It's walkthroughs. We've talked about this before. If there was a problem with Mekhi, you don't think Joe would have been on it? You don't think Joe would have went, maybe we got to take Akeem at 4. You know what I mean? Granted, I love Sauce. Don't get me wrong. I love that we took Sauce. But if he felt like there was a problem there, he would have addressed it. Joe has said emphatically that he has no question about Mekhi Becton. Robert Saleh said he has no question about this man being ready, and neither one questions his commitment. Any of you guys out there who've been a parent, I guarantee you were there, or if you weren't, you were really upset and regretted that you weren't there for your child's birth. It's a big deal. It's a really big deal. He wants to be there. He wants to support his girlfriend. He wants to be there with the child. Totally get it. Again, we've seen the workout films he's putting on. We've seen the footage he's put out. You guys remember we've talked about Mekhi here a lot. He likes to make the joke about, he changed his name to Big Bust. It wasn't because he's agreeing with you guys. It's because he's ready to show you that he's not that. He changed his name out of a joke. So let's remind ourselves of this for a second. So first of all, we do have to remind ourselves again that all of this is voluntary, because that seems to be eluding some people sometimes, that all of this is voluntary. But let's remember what Mekhi Becton was in his rookie season when he was a potential Pro Bowler. Mekhi Becton had a pass grade of 76 as a rookie, a run grade of 73.9, and an overall grade of 74.4. He looked awesome in his rookie year at left tackle, dominant in the pass block, excellent footwork, good handwork, unbelievable strength. We know the strength this guy has, and he was great in the run game as well. Again, those three numbers, those grades for a rookie are awesome. We went into the next year saying this kid's going to break out. You guys remember we were all saying it. We were all saying this kid's going to break out in 2021. This kid's going to be great in 2021. We can't wait to see how amazing he's going to be. Well, injury derailed him, which we've seen. We've talked about it here, that being a huge man, and Robert Saleh, again, these spins on the stories. Robert Saleh has continuously said from the beginning that when you have a big guy like this, it's not easy to come back. He kept saying the surgery was 100% successful. His knee is 100% okay. He will be ready to go. It's just taking him a lot longer to feel comfortable putting that much weight on that knee. And again, we talked about what he looks like. Excuse me. We've talked about what he's looked like in the offseason. He looks bigger. He looks leaner. I have never seen as much definition on Mekhi's body this offseason than I've ever seen before. He looks leaner and in better shape than he's ever been in. And as I pointed out when we drafted him, size wasn't his issue. The man was freaking fast as hell. So if he was fast as hell before he lost that weight, man, I think it's going to be like a CJ Mosley thing. And I'm telling you guys that right now. CJ Mosley, remember, coming in 20 pounds lighter, flying all over the field. Mekhi might be really pretty nimble next year. I'm really thinking he might be more nimble than people are going to be giving him credit for. But again, Joe, Robert, they've all stressed that he's ready to go. There's no problems. There's no setbacks. There's no issues. And again, like Robert Saleh said literally today, that quote I read you was from today. He said that that Mekhi Becton is obviously attending to his wife, to his girl and his baby, and that's far more important than OTAs. He gets it. They get it. They're in communication. Mekhi will be back. Now, we come back to McGovern, because as you guys remember, I've said, McGovern is the weakest link on that offensive line. We'll be honest, he is. I felt that way. But with all the talent around him now, he should be damn successful. He was one of the better centers in the NFL last year. Well, now that he's got a Pro Bowler on his left side in Laken Tomlinson, and a going to be Pro Bowler on his right side in ABT, he's got his bases set. He doesn't have to worry about anyone but himself. And that's been the problem with McGovern. When he has to worry about others, he tends to make mistakes. When he has to pick up for guards or pick up slack, he can't do it. But when he has to worry about himself, he does a pretty good job, especially in this zone blocking scheme. So we look at this offensive line. It's a damn good offensive line all the way across, from George Fant, from all the stuff we just said about Tomlinson, to AVT, to what Becton could be, to McGovern. That's a quality offensive line. In fact, I would go as far to say the Jets' offensive line will be a top 10 offensive line in 2022. That is my statement. It'll be a top 10 offensive line, and it is stacked. And like we just said, like Joe always said, you got to keep that quarterback upright. You got to keep him upright. You got to give him time in the pocket. You got to allow him to read the field and make the right decisions and get comfortable. Well, that offensive line is going to allow him to do so. So like Joe says, you got to build through the trenches, and he's done that. So we talked about how good the Jets' trenches look. Let's move to our receiving options. Let's move to who Zach Wilson's got to throw the ball to. Because you guys remember I have my Super Bowl episode, and I used literal metrics and numbers to show that receiving, we've known this for a while, that receiving is everything. But we look at the receiving cores of the two teams that played in the Super Bowl last year. They're arguably two of the best in the NFL, right? Those two receiving cores were stacked. Unbelievable receiving cores with a lot of talented weapons for Burrow and Stafford. So that's what we got to do for Zach, and I'm going to show that Joe Douglas has done that. So let's start with Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore is going into his sophomore year, which, just like Zach, is a really big deal. He's having his first offseason under his belt. He's had time to mature, get better, work on the things that he knows he needs to work on. I think just like Zach, Elijah's going to have a really, really big year. Now, we see people saying, well, who's going to be the wide receiver one, right? Is it going to be Elijah Moore? Is it going to be Garrett Wilson? Well, you guys remember my take on who's going to be left tackle, George or Mekhi. This is a great problem to have, right? For years, for decades, we've been going, what are we going to do? We don't have anyone for our quarterback to throw the ball to. What are we going to do? Well, now we have weapons and lots of weapons. So I believe, and we're going to talk about Garrett as well, but I believe that Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson are going to develop into a interchangeable wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. And people say, yeah, we took Garrett at 10 and we took Elijah at 34. But that doesn't mean, let's just state for the record. Granted, I believe Garrett Wilson, and we're going to talk about it. He is an unbelievable talent. I've talked about the things I believe he needs to work on, and we're going to come back to that with Garrett Wilson. But he is an unbelievable talent. That being said, there's no concrete fact that he's going to be better than Elijah Moore. We need to keep that in mind. Again, even though Garrett Wilson was the 10th overall pick, and he's got all the potential in the world, Elijah Moore could still wind up being better. And we remember we talked about it last year. I was saying that he looked like a wide receiver 1. At first, if you guys remember, I questioned it, right? I said, he's not big enough. Could he line up on the outside? How's he going to look? Well, I backtracked that quick. I backtracked that really quick watching the kid play. If you watched Elijah Moore lining up on the outside, he went back and forth with the best corners in the league. There were a couple of games where he was playing the top corners in the NFL, and he was going back and forth. He was making good catches. They were making good pass blocks. They were going back and forth. He was showing that he has the potential to be excellent on the outside. And let's talk about what Elijah Moore did in his rookie season for a sec. So Elijah Moore was targeted 77 times in his rookie season. Out of those 77 targets, he only had one drop. Let's stress that again for a second. In his rookie year, being targeted 77 times, Elijah Moore only had one drop. That was a drop percentage of just 1.3%. That was tied for 7th in the entire NFL among wide receivers and was 2nd among all rookie wide receivers. And we know Elijah Moore wasn't considered the best one in that draft, which is why, again, he could wind up being the great guy. We don't know. But that's why I think him and Garrett Wilson, man, Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson are going to develop into an outstanding duo for Zach Wilson. The two of them are going to be his guys for a long time, and it is just exciting to see. So we talk about Elijah. We talk about how he could be a wide receiver one. It's very possible that he could be that, and at least an interchangeable wide receiver 1-2. And we talk about the amazing stats he put up. Man, he's coming in. He's ready to have a big year too. Elijah Moore is ready to have a big year too. So let's pivot now and talk about Garrett Wilson. So you guys know my biggest knock on Garrett Wilson was his route running and his ability to create separation. Well, in camp so far, again, just camp, we're just seeing a little bit. He looks really good when it comes to his route running, and I'm seeing it in camp as well. His biggest issue is his first step. And if you watch some of the film that some of the, what do you call it? The practice highlights. The practice highlights that the Jets put out. I put out one on Garrett Wilson. If you watch in the third, there's a 3-set film of him. In the third one, you can see him stumble a little bit on that first step. It's the biggest knock I had on him, that it could be an issue of creating separation, but I think that's going to change. I really, really do. Watching this kid, he's dedicated. He works really, really hard. Everything he says, I love. I don't have all the quotes, but everything this kid says, I love. He's got the right attitude. He's got the right mindset. He works really, really hard. And as I said, I may have had those knocks, but when it comes to catchability, he was one of the best in the draft, if not the best. Garrett Wilson has highlight reel catch ability. This dude's catch radius for his size is just freaking insanity. He makes catches like he's 6'2", 6'3", 20, 30 pounds heavier than he is. He's got amazing jumps, amazing body control, excellent hands, excellent ability to grab the football and bring it in, especially in contested catch situations. He is, again, a human highlight reel when it comes to making the catch. And again, the route running can be fixed. We see it. Excuse me. His route running isn't the worst. I do have to say, I think part of it is, and I think you guys would agree, I was comparing it to Chris Olave. That's the problem. I loved Chris Olave, who was the best route runner in the whole class. So when you compare kind of any of those wide receivers to Chris Olave, the route running doesn't look good. It's not bad for a rookie, and that's what needs to be said. Garrett Wilson does not have bad route running for a rookie. Sometimes has a miss in his first step, sometimes a little off-footing, leads to, maybe losing a second or two here and there when it comes to creating separation, but he's going to learn. He's going to learn. He's going to get better. His route running is going to get better. He's going to tighten it up. He's going to get better at that. But again, his catch ability is insane, and that is what really matters. His ability to catch the ball is just ridiculous. You watch the highlight films of this kid. He catches everything. Just put the ball somewhere in his vicinity, right? So let's talk about what Garrett Wilson did at Ohio State. So Garrett Wilson, in just his last year, in 2021, he had 70 receptions, 1,058 yards, averaged over 15 yards a catch, which is awesome, had 12 touchdowns, double-digit touchdowns, and had 5 100-plus yard games. He was awesome. He was absolutely awesome. So Garrett Wilson, again, excuse me, as I mentioned to you guys, there's a couple of things he can work on, but that's any player, right? Any player comes into the NFL, they have things they need to work on, things they need to improve. You can improve your route running ability. You can improve your ability to create separation. But that catch ability he has, man, if you watch him, you can't teach that. The dude's got baseball gloves for hands, and he just catches, again, everything. He jumps 10 feet in the air. He's made catches where his hips are equal to the cornerback's head. Like, it's just insanity. You can't teach that. So I get what Joe Douglas loves in him. I get what everybody else sees in him. The things that you can't teach, he just has in spades. He has it in absolute spades. And my knocks on him, as I've, thought about and spent time on, are all things that can be worked on. All things that can be worked on. All things that can be improved. And if they do, man, his potential is just through the freaking roof. Because, again, he's got the size at like 5'11", 190 and change. He's got the speed. He's got the hands. He's got the ability to be a true wide receiver one. And him and Elijah Moore, man, they have potential to be an outstanding duo for a very, very long time. So now, We got two awesome guys right there. We got Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson, two excellent top options for Zach Wilson. You want your quarterback to be successful, you give him two options like that. But we're not done. You got Corey Davis. Now we'll talk about Corey Davis for a second. We all thought when we brought Corey Davis in, yeah, we hoped he could be a wide receiver one. Clearly that wasn't the case. Clearly that wasn't the case. Clearly that didn't work out. But you guys remember I said it last year before we drafted Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis is an excuse me. Corey Davis is an underappreciated wide receiver too. Now he's a wide receiver 3, so he's massively underappreciated. We have to make sure that's clear for everyone that understands. As a wide receiver 3, he is massively underappreciated. But I thought he was underappreciated as a wide receiver too. We have to remember that before he got hurt last year, Corey Davis was on par to have his first 1,000-yard season. He was having 100-yard receiving games. He was looking excellent with Zach Wilson, really helping him his development. In fact, in the beginning of the season, the best passes and the best catches were to Corey Davis. So, man, you got Elijah Moore, who, like we just said, could be amazing, could be as good as anybody. Same thing with Garrett Wilson. Now you factor in Corey Davis as a wide receiver 3. Man, that's an outstanding 3 right there. That is an outstanding 3. And we're not done yet. You got Braxton Berrios in the slot, who we saw last year had a career year. We can't forget that in last year's OTAs, last year's offseason, and last year's OTAs, when everybody else was banged up, who was Zach Wilson's favorite target? Braxton Berrios, right? We remember Braxton and Zach were like this, and they still are. We literally saw them in the offseason. The two of them are sporting shirts. Zach's got a shirt that says Braxton Berrios is good. Berrios has a shirt that says Zach Wilson is good. I'm crying because I'm just like, this is the chemistry you want. Like, how can you have better chemistry than this? These two dudes are like brothers, man. And Berrios had a career year last year with Zach Wilson. He had his best year ever, looked excellent, still a young dude, so all the potential to keep developing. And that was his first year in this system and his first year with Zach Wilson. Now in his second year in this system, second year with Zach Wilson, with an offseason to work with him, man, the potential is just through the freaking roof. So we got 4 wide receivers we just named right now that are all excellent options and targets for Zach Wilson. We haven't even mentioned Denzel Mims. So let's talk about Denzel Mims for a second. Denzel Mims, as we all know and we saw in his rookie season, we thought he could be a wide receiver 1, right? We can't forget that. In his rookie season, he made unbelievable contested catches, was very physical, made excellent plays. We thought, yeah, maybe this dude can develop into a wide receiver 1. Obviously, we drafted Elijah Moore. Obviously, last year didn't work out for him. But I talked about it when I had Greenbean on, and he made an excellent point with it. Last year was really an outlier for Denzel Mims, right? In his college career, he was awesome. In his rookie season, he looked like he had all the potential in the world. Last year was weird. Last year, remember, we went into camp like, wait a minute. What do you mean Keelan Cole is above Denzel Mims? Like, wait a minute. Granted, I really liked Keelan Cole, as you guys remember. So I was like, I wanted to see Keelan Cole. But it was weird. We were like, why is Denzel Mims not the guy? Then we found out he had the salmon poisoning. He got sick. He lost a lot of weight. He didn't learn the playbook in time. He was behind everybody else. And again, something you got to love about Robert Saleh, he made it clear, I ain't just going to throw somebody in there. I'm not going to go, oh, because Denzel Mims is supposed to be good. He missed all this time. Let's just throw him in. No. Keelan Cole earned the spot. Other guys earned the spot. If you guys give me just one sec. Excuse me. So that's an important thing to remember. Robert Saleh is not just going to give away positions. This isn't Adam Gase's offense. You have to earn everything you get. So yeah, Mims lost all that weight, sick, missed a lot of time. There were literal reports that he was struggling learning the playbook. Of course he's going to be buried on the depth chart. But what have we seen this offseason? He looks stronger than he's ever looked. He looks faster. He looks in better shape than we've ever seen him before. It tells me that this man wants to prove everybody wrong, that Denzel Mims wants to come out and say, you don't know me. You think you know me, but you don't know me. Last year was an outlier, and I'm going to show you guys what I can really do. But like we said, let's just say it doesn't happen. We talked about Elijah Moore. We talked about Garrett Wilson. We talked about Corey Davis. We talked about Braxton Berrios. That is an outstanding four right there. If Denzel Mims can also be a top guy, man, Zach has got it. Zach has got everything he's needed at wide receiver to be successful. He has so much talent there. It's great. Makes me cry. I'm so happy, man. This is awesome. So there we talk about the wide receiver receiving options. Let's pivot now and talk about tight end, because tight end's important too. And like Joe Douglas said, he pointed it out in the offseason that he didn't want to spend crazy money on a wide receiver, so they kind of pivoted into signing tight ends. The tight end room has taken a whole 180. The tight end room has gone from zero to hero in just a few months. We now have CJ Uzomah. CJ Uzomah, sorry, I was saying it wrong. CJ Uzomah isn't even the best guy in that room. I think Tyler Conklin is the better guy. But CJ Uzomah has a great attitude. He's a great leader. He's a mentor. He's motivating. Every time, pretty much you guys have seen it. I've tweeted them all out. Every interview CJ Uzomah has done, I love. He says all the right things. He acts all the right way. He is exactly what you want as a offensive leader and a presence in that locker room. He is 100% what you want, from his attitude to his persona to his personality. It's great. And he's not a bad player. When healthy, he's a quality receiving option and a quality blocking option. But when it comes to tight end, you guys, when it comes to tight end, I've said it earlier when we first signed him, and I'm saying it now, I think people are sleeping on Tyler Conklin. I really do. Because we have to remember, Tyler Conklin only got his first chance to start last year. That was it. Before that, he wasn't really a starter. He only had a handful of balls come his way before last year. Well, last year he gets his first chance to be a full-time starter from the Vikings. And what does Tyler Conklin do? Tyler Conklin holds in 61 receptions. That ranked 8th among all tight ends in the NFL, and it was more than any Jets tight end has had since 2011. And yes, you heard that number right. It wasn't a mistake. We haven't had a tight end have 61 receptions or more since 2011, since Dustin Keller. Man, Tyler Conklin, first year starting last year, I think this dude's got a ton of potential, an absolute ton of potential. But we also signed Jeremy Ruckert. And you guys know how I felt about Ruckert. He was a sleeper of mine. I loved this kid. Let's not forget Long Island native. Let's not forget Jets fan. Like, you can't beat this stuff. We bring in Jeremy Ruckert, and the first thing he's saying is, I'm a Jets fan. I grew up a Jets fan. We see his dad crying tears of joy because he's a Jet. Dude, you can't beat this. You can't beat this. I love the Jeremy Ruckert draft pick. Again, local hero, Long Island guy myself, so love it. Lindenhurst native, a big Jet fan growing up, literally said his whole life. There's so many images of him. I put him out and others put him out. So many images of him online, on Twitter, of him as a kid in his Jets uniform. As a kid, dreaming about what he's going to be doing in a few months. Now, Jeremy Ruckert was an excellent blocker at Ohio State, an excellent blocker, because that's all they really asked him to do. He was an outstanding blocker. But when he got the opportunity to pass catch, he really shined. He had almost 12, he only had 300 yards, but again, it's because he had very few receptions. He averaged almost 12 a catch. That's pretty awesome for a tight end to average almost 12 a catch. And those 3 touchdowns he had, we all saw that amazing one-handed touchdown, crazy grab he made in the end zone. This dude has unbelievable potential. So again, we look at that wide receiver room, Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, unbelievable wide receiver 1s and 2s. Who's going to be the 1? Who's going to be 2? Maybe they're both going to be 1. I love it. Corey Davis, underappreciated wide receiver 3. Berrios we talked about. Mims could step up. We don't know. But what we've seen, if he can also be the guy, that wide receiver room is stacked. It's just stacked. And then we talk about tight end, Tyler Conklin, who I've said again is massively underappreciated. CJ Uzama, who's also very good when healthy. And Jeremy Ruckert is such a sleeper. Jeremy Ruckert has such unbelievable potential. So we talked about that offensive line, and we talked about how good it is and how it's going to aid in Zach Wilson's success. And now we've talked all about the receiving options and how they're going to aid in Zach Wilson's success. Well, there's one thing left, and that's the backfield. And man, this backfield is also looking beautiful because we cannot forget that Joe Douglas walked away with the best running back in this draft. Again, we cannot forget that. With the 34, by trading up with the 34th pick, Joe Douglas, I think it might have been 35. Don't quote me. Joe Douglas walks away with the best running back in this entire draft. Over the last 2 years at Iowa State, Breece Hall had over 3,000 rushing yards, averaged 5.6 yards per carry. Over 2 years, with over 3,000 rushing yards, he averaged 5.6 yards per carry. That's crazy. He had 41 rushing touchdowns and almost 500 receiving yards and 5 receiving touchdowns. Breece Hall is an underrated draft pick. There have been many on Twitter saying, can Breece Hall be the best running back in the AFC East? And you know what? I think he will be. We cannot forget that Breece Hall, very similar, if you want to get a comparison, think of Jonathan Taylor a little bit. Think of that big physical back that can put up unbelievable yards. That's what Breece Hall did in college. Again, Breece Hall was the best running back in this entire draft. Like we said, he had over 1,500 yards the last 2 years, had over 20 touchdowns each year. Think about that. Had over 20 rushing touchdowns each of the last 2 seasons. The guy's unbelievable. But what's also really special about Breece Hall is what he can do after contact. After contact, Breece Hall is really, really excellent. And let's not forget, so is Michael Carter. So Michael Carter last year, he had 2.3 yards per attempt after contact. That was tied for 9th in the entire NFL. He had 13 broken tackles. That was tied for 20th. And his 345 yards after contact was tied for 25th. So Michael Carter is excellent after contact. Now, him and Breece Hall are an underrated duo, you guys. Absolutely underrated duo. And like I said, when you talk about Breece Hall, it's just amazing. I mean, they asked Breece Hall, what is he? And I love this. His answer, I'm the best running back in this class. I'm a Mr. Everything type of guy. I'm a 3-down back, and I'm a natural playmaker. I'm somebody who's going to be great on the field and off the field. Man, this kid, I am convinced Breece Hall and Michael Carter, ready for this? Breece Hall and Michael Carter are going to have 2,500 plus scrimmage yards. Remember, that's pass and catch. 2,500 plus scrimmage yards between the two of them when next season ends. Man, this backfield is massively underappreciated. Again, we just got our Jonathan Taylor-like, our Breece Hall, our best running back in this draft. Again, a dude that put up over 3,000 yards, over 40-something touchdowns over the last 2 years, and he's an unbelievable receiving option as well. And we can't forget about Michael Carter. So, as you guys can see, we're stacked. We're stacked upon stacked upon stacked. And it has led to this. Joe Douglas has made sure that Zach Wilson has everything he needs to be successful. From, like we talked about, from his offensive line, keeping him upright, opening up running holes, and allowing him to make plays, from all the receiving options he has. Remember, we said those Super Bowl teams, tons of options. Well, that's what we have right now. From wide receiver to tight end, there's like 8, 9 guys that are quality options there. We have lots of options. we talk about that backfield. What's a young quarterback's friend? A running back that can make the game, right? A running back that can take the pressure off of him, make a lot of plays. And let's not forget, Breece Hall and Michael Carter are also excellent receiving options. That's what's so important. Our backfield was filled with not just two excellent running backs, but two excellent receiving running backs. So again, Joe Douglas has made sure Zach Wilson has everything he needs to be successful. Now it's on Zach. And you guys know, you saw it last week. I talked about my episode last week. I talked about it last week, and I've been talking about it nonstop since we drafted this kid. He's it. Zach Wilson is the guy. He's the answer we've been looking for. Again, you guys remember I talked about it. Back in that draft, I was like, this is my guy. Back when everyone wanted Justin Fields, I'm like, no, you guys don't see it somehow. Zach Wilson is unbelievable. He is the second best quarterback in this draft. Arguably, you guys remember I said when it came to things like pocket awareness, pocket anticipation, pocket presence, I felt like he was better than Trevor Lawrence. I'd said that. Zach Wilson has the potential to be as good as anybody. And as we've talked about, he's got the work ethic, right? He works his ass off. Think about all the things everyone's always said about him, right? Going back to last year. Last year as a rookie, everybody, all the coaches, everyone kept saying was they loved his cerebral ability. They loved how well he learned. They loved how he didn't make the same mistake twice. Right? That's important. We have to remember that. This kid is an excellent cerebral ability. And how has he shown up this offseason? He's shown up bigger, right? Look at the words everyone's using. Joe said that Zach has put weight on. Robert Saleh said Zach looks thick. Remember what C.J. Mosley said? C.J. Mosley said that he's put on, I thought what C.J. Mosley said was the best. C.J. Mosley said that he's put on weight, but more importantly, we're not worried about him, right? C.J. said that he practices the little things over and over and over and over and over again until he gets everything perfect and everything right. Think about who we've heard that before. Who have we heard in the past that is always working all the time on the little things? Over and over and over and over and over. I hate to give the man credit, but it's a perfect example. Tom Brady. Tom Brady was someone who did that. Tom Brady was a man who was always praised for his cerebral ability, always praised for his football IQ and his ability to learn and get better. And like we were just saying, yeah, without getting on, I don't want to talk about Tom too much. Let's pivot. We're not going to talk about Tom Brady too much. But when we look at Zach, again, the cerebral ability he has, his learning ability, his ability, like we said, to work on the little things, right? To keep working on the little things, to get better and better. He wants to be great. Zach Wilson wants to be great. He has the work ethic to be great, and he's putting in the effort to be great. As we saw, he's bulked up. He's gotten bigger. What else has Robert Saleh said? Robert Saleh said he has a great early command of the offense. He said he looks more confident and he's being more vocal. That is so important. Zach Wilson is stepping into the role we need him to be. He's stepping into the leader that we need him to become. He's taking command of his offense. He's telling his troops what to do and how to do it and where to line up. And he's probably calling people out on mistakes now. Like Robert Saleh said, he's being more vocal, and that is what you want. So as you guys know, I've said it for a long time, that Zach has what it takes. Zach has everything you want in an elite franchise quarterback as a young kid to develop to that point. My question was always, will they put him in the right position to be successful? Will they surround him with enough to be successful? Well, as you guys saw over this last 44 minutes or so, as you guys saw, that's exactly what we've done. Joe Douglas has done everything needed from the line to the receiving options to the backfield. Joe Douglas has made sure that Zach Wilson has everything needed to be successful and to take his game to the next level. And that is exactly what he is going to do. Make sure you tell everybody, guys, Zach Wilson is going to break out in 2022, and everything we just talked about is why. So I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you guys for all your comments. Please bring any questions, any concerns you got. James points out, shout out to James, said Zach's got thick and beefy. Man, you got to love it. That's exactly what you want. I always felt, remember, I said it back when we drafted him. What was the one knock? One of the big knocks back when Zach Wilson was drafted, everyone's like, oh, he's too small. He's too small. I'm like, he's not too small. Just wait till the measurements come out and you'll see. Well, we remember Zach Wilson was shorter, yet heavier than Trevor Lawrence. Zach coming out as a rookie was denser than Trevor Lawrence was. And like Robert Saleh has said, like everybody has said, he looks thicker. He looks beefy. He's ready to go, man. He's ready to take that next step. And an important thing to point out, I don't, excuse me, have the exact quote in front of me, but an important thing that Robert Saleh said was even though Zach has gotten stronger and bigger, he hasn't lost any of his mobility and he hasn't lost any of his zip or ability with the football. And that is what matters the most. So, man, like I've said, this kid looks unbelievable. Unbelievable. He needed a team around him, and he has that. So, man, this kid, the work ethic, the drive he has, we saw it, the work he's putting in. He's going to break out this year, man. He really is. Like Jeremy says, shout out to you. Appreciate you, Jeremy. Appreciate all you guys. Appreciate you tuning in. Says Zach is going to shut a lot of doubters up. He is, man. He's going to shut them up very soon. Like James said, we got the tight ends. Man, we got the tight ends. I talked about talked all about the tight ends, talked all about the receivers. Man, Zach has every weapon needed to be successful. He has all the receiving options he could need, a great backfield, and a quality offensive line. Like we said, Joe Douglas has done everything needed to set Zach Wilson up for success. And you guys know I've felt it for a while, that this kid is the real deal. He's exactly what you want in a franchise quarterback. He's got the work ethic, the cerebral mentality, the ability, the focus, the drive, working on the little things. Remember, CJ literally said, we're not worried about it. It's exactly what CJ Mosley said. We are not worried about Zach Wilson. Funny joke. Steven's got a funny joke. That's funny. Funny, Steven. That was really, really good. Iowa Jets fan, that's funny. Zach's a juicy piece of meat. And they seem to like those words. They seem to like beefy. They seem to like thick. That seems to be the words. But the point is he's bigger. That's the point. He's clearly hit the gym, gotten stronger. But like I've been saying, an offseason is so key, right? We've seen so many quarterbacks, the Kyler Murrays of the world, break out in their second season, make massive strides in year two because their team put quality and talent around them, but also they brought themselves to the next level as well. Now, I got to pause for a second because we got a celebrity here. So shout out to Mr. Greenbean. Greenbean's here. Appreciate you, my brother. Appreciate you tuning in. Love it. Appreciate it, man. Points out the personnel we're going to be using. Love it. Calls it a beefsteak offense. I love it, man. That's a great term. A beefsteak offense. I like that term. That's awesome, man. So, yeah, appreciate you being here, Greenbean. Really appreciate you tuning in, man. When you're here, we have a great conversation. Love talking to you about them Jets. Really, really do. Like Braden points out, looking forward to watching some fun games this season. It's going to be exciting. Appreciate all you guys, especially Greenbean. Appreciate you being here, my man. Massive shout out. Really appreciate you being here. But all you guys, really appreciate you tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you enjoyed me going through, just literally showing you guys how stacked our offensive line is, how stacked our receiving core is, our receiver and tight end, how stacked our backfield is. Our team, like we said, Joe Douglas has done exactly what he needs to make this team successful. And man, Zach Wilson's going to take it to the next level. Zach Wilson's going to take it to the next level. Zach Wilson is going to break out, and I just can't wait. So I want to thank you guys again for tuning in. Thank you guys. I know it's Tuesday. It's not our normal episode. Appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate you guys taking part and tuning in. As you guys know, we're normally here Mondays, so please tune in Mondays at 7 p.m. for the regular episodes. But thank you again for tuning in. Thank you for being part of the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. And get ready for 2022, guys. Get ready. Zach Wilson is going to have an unbelievable year, and it's because of who he is as a player, the work he's put in, but also, and just as importantly, with the talent that Joe Douglas has surrounded him with. So thank you guys again for tuning in. Please tune in to Green Bean's got a show right after this. Appreciate all you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being part of the podcast. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week. And I can't wait, baby. Our time is coming. Our time is here. Joe Douglas has set us up for success. The keys are in the drive, guys. It's time to just go. It's time to go. So thank you again for tuning in. See you guys next Monday. Again, Monday at 7 p.m. And let's go Jets.